This video is going to be one of the most important videos that you can watch to either improve your relationships or get into relationships that you want. And the reason why is because relationships, they're all about communication. When you're in a relationship, whether that's a romantic relationship, whether you're a boss, an employee, any kind of relationship, you have to communicate. If you're not communicating, it's not going to be a good relationship. In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to break down how you communicate, how different people communicate, and how you can take your communication to the next level and be able to understand people that you're communicating with at a deeper level. So I have a question for you guys. When you're communicating with someone, have you ever had the experience of you don't feel heard? Like you're telling somebody something and you don't feel like they're hearing you? Or have you had the experience to where someone is communicating with you, like someone told you something and you're like, it hurts your feelings. You're like, well, that was kind of rude. Like that was kind of insensitive. Here's the thing. Most of the time, they didn't actually mean to be rude. They didn't actually mean to be insensitive. However, the way people communicate, we can sometimes take it that way. So in this video, we're going to be discussing all of the different ways people communicate, how you can be a better communicator, and how you can be a better listener. You're going to be able to learn your own communication styles, your own speaking styles, your own listening styles, and what you do with that information. Aloha, I'm Sabrina with Begin Being, and I do many things. So I'm obviously here on YouTube. On YouTube. I am a trainer of NLP, Neurolinguistic programming. I'm a trainer of Huna, which is an ancient Hawaiian healing technique. And I'm also a vice president of a company that does all of these trainings. So with that, I have to be a highly effective communicator. And I have to know how other people speak, how other people listen, and how they internalize or externalize it. And I'll tell you the story about when I went to hire one of my new employees. So this was a few years ago. And I am a master practitioner of NLP, which means I know a lot about communication, people's communication styles. Now, the person I was looking to hire, I wanted to also hire a master practitioner so we kind of would speak the same language. And I found this amazing, amazing person. And during the interview process and then getting to know her and everything, when I first hired her, I'm like, okay, what is your listening and speaking styles? Now, here's the thing. People listen and speak in different ways. So there is what's called a literal listener, and there is what's called an inferential listener. And there's speakers as well. So you can be a literal speaker or an inferential speaker, and you can be a literal listener or an inferential listener. Now, I am an inferential speaker most of the time. Now, when you know your speaking and listening styles, you can kind of adjust them to who you're communicating with. So like I said, tend to be a little bit more inferential when I'm teaching. So when I'm at live events and I'm trying to teach information, I go more literal because it's difficult for people to understand information if you're too inferential. So I go more literal. When I'm in the office doing vice president type things, I try to be as literal as possible because again, when you're giving people direction, if you're too inferential, they're gonna go, I don't know what you're trying to tell me right now. Here's why it's so important to understand the difference between the two, what yours is and what theirs is. So this is me and my employee. I am very inferential. She is very literal. As far as I tend to speak inferentially, she tends to hear literally. What can happen in a situation like this is I could tell her something like, hey, okay, so here's this project. We really need to get this done and we should really get this done by, X date. I'm using the word we. We is more like inferential speak. When you're an inferential speaker, you tend to not exactly say what you mean. So for example, as an inferential speaker, if I was thirsty and maybe I wanted someone else to go get me a glass of water or something, I would say something like, I'm thirsty. Now, an inferential listener would be able to say, oh, would you like me to get you a glass of water? Because they're going to be able to hear what she's actually saying is she would like a glass of water. Maybe she wants me to get a glass of water. Someone who's hyper inferential, meaning they are super, super inferential, they will actually get up and go get the person with a glass of water without even asking. The person might have just literally been saying, I'm thirsty, not intending for the person to go get the glass of water. A hyper inferential will go get the glass of water. Now, a literal listener, if you say something like, I'm thirsty, a literal listener will go, I'm thirsty too. And will have no clue that the inferential speaker may be saying, I want a glass of water. Now, what can happen is, say you're in a relationship, like a romantic relationship, and you're, sitting down to dinner, and you go, I'm thirsty. Your partner goes, I too have once thirsted. And you're going, okay, that's nice. I'm thirsty. And your partner's going, oh, okay. I'm happy to know you're thirsty. And you're like, no, I'm thirsty. And your partner's like, I'm not really thirsty. And so you go, fine, I'll go get my own glass of water. Do you see how that communication just broke down? The inferential speaker was saying, please go get me some water. The literal listener was not hearing that at all, not hearing it. Just simply going, okay, thanks for telling me you're thirsty. Go get some water. So when you're not speaking the other person's language, which we tend to only speak our language, it's perfectly natural. When you're not speaking the other person's language, they might not be hearing you, which means you're not communicating, which means the other person can feel not heard. So the inferential speaker in that particular situation could go, I guess he doesn't love me. I guess he doesn't really care. He just doesn't listen to me. I tell him I'm thirsty and he's just like, good luck with that. Okay. When really, he just doesn't hear it. When really, he's just thinking you literally mean you're thirsty and that's all you mean. Now, you might be thinking at this point, oh, okay, so maybe being an inferential listener is really good because you can hear what people are saying. So maybe that it's easier to be an inferential listener. Here's the thing about inferential listeners though. Sometimes they will hear what is not said. If there's baggage, they'll hear it in a bad way. So if I were to say, I'm thirsty, a hyper-inferential listener with baggage, with limiting beliefs or negative emotions, maybe, they had other stuff go wrong in a past relationship or something, they might hear that as, oh man, she's thirsty. She wants me to go get her water. And I just took my bite of food and I don't really want to go get her water, but if I don't go get her water, she's never gonna love me again. So sometimes an inferential listener, if they have baggage and they're a hyper inferential listener, they'll hear things that aren't there in a negative way. So say I'm speaking to one of my employees and I'm telling them, okay, so this last quarter, we really didn't touch as many people. We didn't really reach out to as many people as we could have. I want us to go ahead and reach out to more people. I want us to take this action and that action. A hyper-inferential listener with baggage is going to be going, oh no, I'm fired. Okay, she's firing me now. I guess I need to go ahead and start applying for new jobs. And none of that is true. None of that is actually what I'm saying, and that's actually what is happening. Now, a literal listener, so when I hired my employee, because she's taking the trainings and everything, she knows how to answer these questions. So I asked her, are you a literal or inferential listener? And she's like, oh, I'm literal. Oh, okay, all right. So I was able to tell her, hey, I'm an inferential speaker. Now, I do my best to communicate to her in a literal way. And we have this, like, we have work chats and stuff like that because we work all across the country. Plus, I'm traveling for parts of the year, going to live events and stuff like that. So we do a lot of communication through chats. And sometimes, especially if I'm at a live event, I'm busy teaching and stuff. So sometimes I just reply to something like really quick. And so sometimes I go into the inferential type speak. And here's the thing. Because we know our communication styles, if I go a little bit too inferential for her, she's then able to ask me, Sabrina, what exactly does this mean? So for example, one time I was telling her like, hey, we need to do this, we need to do that, and messaging her this. Now, an employee who doesn't know about communication styles and who is a literal listener could have at that point go, okay, all right, so she's saying we, so that means maybe when she gets back from the training, she wants us to go over this together and we are going to do it. That would be what a literal listener would do. If she had done that, then when I got back from the training, I would be like, hey, so how's this project going? What are the steps you've been taking? How has that been going while I'm gone? And she would have said, what do you mean? You said we, you didn't say me, you said we, so I thought we were gonna work on this together. Or I could have, maybe it was something to where I could see the results and I was not seeing it happen, right? So the other thing that could have happened is if she didn't do it and I wasn't seeing the results, then I could have been like, why weren't you doing this? I gave you these instructions to do this while I was gone so that when I got back, we could continue this on and you have done zero work. What happened? And I could then think that she's not doing her work, that she's not, being a good employee. Instead, because we know our communication styles, which is why this information in this video is so important, because we know each other's communication styles, she was then able to go, Sabrina, does we mean us together, or do you want me to do this, as in her? And I was able to go, oh, oops, I went a little bit too inferential. I need to be more literal and more direct with her. And so I was like, oh, please forgive me. I mean you. Thank you for pointing that out. So that's why it's extremely important to be able to know what your communication style is and what your partner's communication style is, whether that's in business or romance or even your kids, even family members. It takes your communication and you're able to then really know what the other person's saying. And if you don't know, which is the most important part, because often you don't know, you're then able to ask clarifying questions, which is exactly like my employee did. Same thing with students. So when I teach live, like I said, I try to be as literal as possible. And sometimes because it's natural for me, sometimes I might say something that's a little bit more inferential. Now, usually when I'm in the moment, when I'm teaching, I can see all of their faces. So I can see ooh, I just lost a couple of people because I was a little bit too inferential with that. So then I have to be a little bit more literal, a little bit more direct. And then it's like you see the light, you look at their physiology and you see the light. They're like, oh, the light kicked on, right? They're like, oh, okay, I get where she's going with this. So here's how to understand this. You have two different communication styles. You have literal and you have inferential. People who are literal, they're going to say or they're going to hear what's to the point. So if for example, if I'm sitting down to maybe a nice romantic dinner with my partner and I am thirsty, if I'm a literal speaker, I'm going to say, hey babe, will you give me some water? He's going to know, she wants water. There's no guessing. She wants me to get up and she wants me to go get her some water. If I'm an inferential speaker, which I am, I might say something like, oh, I forgot my glass of water. In that moment, that means, babe, will you please go get me a glass of water? That's what I'm saying in my head. Now, for those of you who are literal listeners and you're hearing that, you're going, that's ridiculous. Why wouldn't you just say, go get water? well, there's lots of things that happen in childhood to where you grew up in a certain way and blah, blah, blah. That doesn't matter the reason why. For me personally, I feel like I don't want to I don't want to feel like I'm forcing somebody to go do something. So normally I'll just go get my own water. And there'll be times where maybe if I've had like a long day at work and, I sit down and I'm just like, oh, tired. I just sat down. Maybe I was making the dinner. And so then I just I just sat down or something. And so the times that I would say it would be like when I'm tired, right? But I also really want to respect the other person, and respect that other person might also be tired and might also just have sat down and might also not want to go get the water. And so for me, I'm going to say something like, ooh, I forgot my glass of water. And then it gives them the option of, oh, I'll get it for you, babe. So then they have the option of doing that for me. I'm not going to get pissed off if the person doesn't go get me a glass of water. However, if it was a different type of situation, then yeah, it can cause conflict. It can cause conflict between the two people. And if you don't understand this, which again is why it's so important to understand this, because if you're with a literal listener and you say, I forgot my water, and you expect them to go get it, and you get mad if they never go get your water, or if you're always speaking inferentially like, hey, I really want to go to the gym today, but you don't actually say, babe, will you come with me? Then they might be like, okay, see you later. And then you're going to be thinking, why doesn't he ever want to come to the gym with me? I really just want him to come to the gym with me. How hard would it be to come to the gym? And he might be going, wonder why she didn't ask me to come with her. Maybe she doesn't want me to come with her. Well, okay, maybe I'll just go to the gym later by myself. She didn't invite me, so maybe she doesn't want me to go with her. Do you see how this can start to break down if you're not communicating with someone? So that's literal. So a literal listener is going to go, hey babe, I'm going to the gym. I really like it if you come with me. Do you want to come with me to the gym today? Then the other person's going to be like, no, I want to go this evening. Or, hey, I would love to go with you. I want to go this evening though. Can we go tonight instead? And then you can have more of a conversation. An inferential speaker is going to go, hey babe, I want to go to the gym today. And then not say anything else. Not if you want to ask the person, you might not necessarily ask the person to come with you. I'm going to go to the gym, with a little bit of a energy to it of come with me. If you're good at reading energy, then you actually might hear that even if you're more of a literal listener. Now, I had another situation where one of my employees, I was not at work this particular day. I was off, and she was processing a bunch of stuff in the background of hey, let's do this, let's do that, let's do that. And I was trying to do so many other things in that particular moment. And I was like, okay, wait, let me think about this. To me, that meant stop. To me, and this was a new employee, hadn't really realized it. I knew that she was more literal. You can also be hyper literal. So with my employee that I was telling you about previously, been working with her for a few years now, working with her for a while. She's literal, and she can pick up on when I accidentally go into the inferential when I'm leading. So she can pick up on that. The new employee, I didn't realize how literal she is to where she won't pick up on anything. It's so funny because she just got married as well, and her new husband is inferential. He is a inferential speaker. And so she has a new boss plus a new husband, and they're both inferential, and they're both coming at her with all of these inferential type things. So she's really having to learn, what do I do about this? And I had to really step up my literal speaking skills, because she's, like I said, hyper literal. And a person who is hyper literal, they won't hear anything. They won't hear it at all. And so I was saying, hey, wait, to me, I was being more literal. To her, didn't even hear it. She had no clue that I was telling her to wait. So my lesson for her was I needed to be very direct. I need to be very literal, and I need to say like key points on point. To her, instead of saying like wait, I needed to say stop. I love where you're going with this, and stop. I'm off today. Let me look at this tomorrow. That's how direct and literal I have to be with her to be able to communicate to where she's going to hear it. If I say anything that's even remotely close to inferential, she just won't hear it. So everything is on a scale. It's on a spectrum. So what I'm saying right now is like she's hyper literal, right? I'm not quite hyper inferential. I can kind of go in between. In like a romantic relationship, I tend to be a little bit more towards the hyper inferential. And I think probably the reason why is because I have to be so literal in everything that I do throughout the day that I'm like, I just want to relax. I just want to relax and I just want to chill and just be me, just be myself when I'm, with my partner. My natural state is a little bit further down on the inferential scale. When I'm at work, I raise it up to kind of just above like literal. Like I go just past inferential and into the literal. What I realized with her and with another employee as well, I have to go way beyond that. Even when I'm saying stuff that to me is very, very direct and to the point, sometimes, for example, another employee, she asked me, she's like, can you be more literal? And I'm like, whoa, okay, yes. And I thought I was. Like, I really thought that was literal. And the reason why is because in that particular situation, I had said something in the chat and it referenced something we had talked about previously. And so she goes, can you be more literal? And I'm like, oh, okay, yes. And so what I did is I basically just like re-said what I said, but I quoted what we had said previously. Then she was able to connect the dots and she was able to get it. Because I'm like, I just said the sky is blue and you're asking me to be more literal. Like that's what it felt like to me, right? That's what it felt like to me. And so then I had to explain the sky is blue because of the chemicals that reflect off of the, Now I want to be very clear about this. Neither one is good nor bad. They both have their benefits and they both have their entanglements. They both have their ways that communication can be misunderstood. So a literal listener, they will say stuff that's direct and to the point because they think it gives the other person more choice. Because they think, okay, if I say exactly what I want or what I need or what I think, that's going to give the person more choice to decide whatever it is they need to decide. Some people can think that literal speakers are more like rude, abrupt, rough, just because they will tell you if something's not looking good. So for example, they're your friends. If you really want to know, does this outfit look good? They're the friends that you go to if you want to know the truth. They're not the friends you go to if you want them to lie to you, right? If you want them to like sugarcoat it, if you like are maybe being a little bit sensitive, maybe you're like bloated, whatever, you don't go to these friends, right? These friends will tell you the honest truth. The inferential speaker, they speak inferentially because they also think they want to give you choice. So in the example of, wanting that glass of water, it's okay, well, if I say, will you go get me that glass of water? An inferential speaker might think, oh, that might be rude, or that might be like trying to get somebody to go do something they might not want to do, or that might make the person feel bad if they make the choice to not go get it or if they don't want to go get it. And so an inferential speaker might say something like, I'm thirsty, or I forgot my water. So they'll say something like that, thinking that the other person will hear, maybe they want some water, maybe I can ask more questions, maybe I can just go get it. In their mind, they're not trying to be confusing at all. They will end up confusing the literal listener though, because a literal listener is going to go, like the example that I gave with the employee who I said wait, did not hear that I meant stop, did not hear that. So if you're a hyper literal listener and you're with a hyper inferential speaker, good luck. Now the funny thing is we sometimes will attract our opposites for the purpose, because our souls are here to learn. Our souls are here to learn lessons. So sometimes we attract the opposite so that then we get to learn how to hear an inferential person, or we get to learn how to speak more literally so that we can get our point across. Now again, they both kind of think, like the literal speaker and the inferential speaker, they both think that they're doing what they're doing for the best possible communication for the other person to be able to choose. So neither good nor bad, it's just how we developed our communication styles. So that's literal speaking and inferential speaking. And then you have the listening style. So again, the literal listener is sometimes only going to hear it, like especially someone who is hyper literal, is only going to hear your communication when you say exactly what you mean and what you want. For a hyper inferential speaker, it can be uncomfortable. It can be uncomfortable to say exactly what you want. And not from the perspective of like, I have baggage around like being me or saying what I want, or I'm like the nice girl, I'm the nice guy. Not from that perspective. It's just simply sometimes uncomfortable to say what they actually want, because in their mind, they think you should hear it. So again, it's that learning. It's that learning of where you are and where they're at and being able to meet in the middle. Now, an inferential listener, if you're an inferential listener, you might be sitting there listening going, oh, I've got it. I'm perfect. I can hear the literal speaker. I can hear the inferential speaker. Like I'm good. I'm solid. I don't even need to watch this video because I can hear everything. But here's the thing that, which you can. You could say they might have a little bit of an advantage. However, they hear everything, which means they can hear things that sometimes aren't even true. I gave the example earlier of if you're talking to someone and you're maybe saying, hey, let's go like a different direction with the company or something. They might be hearing, oh God, I'm fired. She just doesn't want me on her team. Like I'm very, same thing if you're in a relationship. If your partner, he's maybe like, you got this new dress or something and you're like, hey honey, what do you think? And your partner's like, oh babe, I like it. And it's just that color, it just kind of like makes your skin washed out. If you're a literal speaker, you might say something like that. So maybe he comes up to you and he's like, yeah, it looks great. And that color though, it just kind of makes your skin look like washed out. He's just answering your question. That's all he's doing is answering your question. And you go, oh God, he thinks I'm fat. Okay, I'm not pretty anymore. Maybe I need to you could go into your head if you have any kind of insecurities or if you have any kind of baggage. Even if you are working on yourself, even if you go through like personal growth and development type things, you watch all the YouTube videos, there's sometimes like core child wounds that can get let up that you're not even like thinking about it. And all of a sudden you go, oh no, he wants to break up with me, right? So neither are good nor bad. It's just the way we communicate. Now, in that particular situation, if you're an inferential listener and you're hearing he thinks I'm fat, then all you have to do is just be like, okay, hold on. Are you just talking about the color here? Like, are you specifically just saying like, for me, it's yellow. Like I can't wear like a bright neon yellow, fine. But I can't wear that like soft pastel yellow. Like it does not work. And if I tried to wear that, I would hope someone would tell me. I would hope, and because it's such a cute color. Like I actually really like it. It's such a cute color, but on me, it doesn't work. So I hope that if I'm wearing that, someone's gonna tell me, Sabrina, love the dress on you, super cute. And that color, it's just not gonna work out. I tend to be a little bit more of an inferential listener. I'm really, really close on listening styles. I'm really close to in between. Every once in a while, I'll go a little bit more literal, and sometimes I'll go a little bit more inferential. And there's kind of a reason for that, which I'll explain next. But so in that moment, if you're like a hyper inferential listener and he says something about the color and you're like, oh God, what does this actually mean? What is he really trying to tell me right now? All you have to do is say, babe, are you just speaking about the color? Is there anything else about the dress? And he just go, no, it's just the color. The dress looks fabulous on you. You look great. But that color, does the dress come in a different color? Because if it comes in a different color, I would buy that one. So those are the ways you can communicate with other people. So the key is to know your communication style and to know the other person's communication style. Now, for those of you going, okay, I need to make like my whole family and everybody I know watch this video. Wait, actually, that's a really good idea. Have everyone you know watch this video and give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I'm only half kidding. Actually, please do that. What I really want to say though is if they haven't watched the video yet, you don't have to go around asking everybody, oh, wait, hold on. Are you an inferential or literal speaker or listener? Or how do you communicate? I don't understand. How do you do it? All you have to do is listen. That's it. Which really, I could just sum up this entire video of just listen. And what do you do with that listening though? If you're listening to people how they speak, there's two most important things you need to do when you're communicating, when you're listening. Before we get into that though, I would like to interrupt this video really quick and say, I have great news, guys. And I would like to announce that I have finished the masculine and feminine therapy assessment. So it is now live. You can click the link below in the description. You can go to it. You can take the assessment. It's 100% free. You can score your results. There's instructions on how to do that. On this channel, I've been going more into masculine and feminine energies and working with masculine and feminine therapy. So within this, where are you? Where are you harmonized within you in the masculine and feminine energy? How do you lead? How do you follow? How do you communicate with each other and with the world as a whole, with society as a whole? Where is society at within the masculine and feminine energy relationships? The exciting news is that I now have an assessment to determine where you are on the spectrum of masculine and feminine energies, the higher vibrations, the lower vibrations, and it's absolutely 100% free. So I have been working with Dr. Patrick Scott. He probably has like more letters after his name than he does in his name. He is one of the heads of the Heads Up Guidance and Wellness Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's basically a huge wellness center. He is actually like the person who directs the people who see the people. So absolutely top in his field. And we've been working together on this survey. I've created this assessment for you guys to take, like I said, absolutely free. All you have to do is click the link below, take the assessment, and score your results. So the two main things you need to do when you're communicating is listen and ask clarifying questions. Those are the two most important things that you can do. Because if you're listening, if you're a literal listener and someone says something to you like, hey, I'm gonna go to the gym, all you have to do is say, hey babe, are you actually asking me to come with you? That doesn't mean you have to go. I want to be clear on this. That doesn't mean that you have to go if you ask that clarifying question. If you ask that and she's like, yes, actually it does. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm glad you told me that because I wasn't sure. And here's the thing, I have this appointment I have to go to. I would love to go to the gym with you if we can maybe do it this evening or maybe tomorrow. Or maybe you just set boundaries to her. Maybe you're the type of person who likes to go to the gym by yourself. So you just be like, okay, babe, I love you. I love doing things together. And when I'm in the gym, I want to get into the zone. I want to not speak to anybody. I don't want to have to I want to be in the zone, right? Or maybe she asks you to go to yoga and yoga's not your thing, right? Or maybe you like to go to yoga and yoga's not her thing. Maybe you like to go to the gym, you ask your woman to go to the gym, and she's like, well, babe, I want to go to yoga. And yoga is not your thing. Okay, fine, so just work out together. Here's the thing though, now you know he likes the gym, she likes the yoga, and you can just do it separate. But now you know. Or maybe you can be like, yoga? How about I try it with you? That's effective communication. That's supportive and effective communication. So number one is just listen. Are you hearing what they're saying? Number two is ask clarifying questions. So in the particular moment of whenever I was saying, hey, wait, just wait a minute and let me think about this, the employee could have just asked the clarifying question of, what does wait mean to you? What are you trying to tell me right now? If you ask that clarifying question, then you give the person the opportunity to go, oh, got it. Wait means stop, like don't do it right now. If your partner says something like, I'm thirsty, if you go, yeah, I'm thirsty too, and that's it, both of you in that moment have the opportunity to listen to each other. Okay, I said I was thirsty. He was just like me too, or she was just like me too. Then the two of you can be like, I don't know if the point's getting across. So the inferential speaker can say like, oh, I actually meant that I'm thirsty, as in I want some water, as in would it be okay, are you okay to go get that for me right now? The literal listener also has the opportunity to go, wait, do you mean you want me to get you water? And then he would be like, yes, that's exactly what I mean. Will you go get me some water? So that's the opportunity that you guys have to be able to do that. Now, I told you there was another thing that happens as well. So there's also external and internal processing. So you can process internally, or you can also process externally. Now, what that looks like in a relationship is, so I have an employee who she is more of an external processor. So she will come up and like the thoughts in her mind come up and tell me this information. And with that, she prefers me to tell her she's doing an amazing job. So someone who is more external, they might do things like they might speak out loud, like their thoughts are outside thoughts. Their thoughts are not necessarily inside thoughts. And again, remember, this is along a spectrum. So we all do this to a certain extent, and just some people do it more or less than others. So someone who's more of an external processor is going to more take information from the world. So when she goes into her external thought processes, she'll come up and start having a conversation about it. If you're more internal, a person comes up to you and might start, it might sound like word vomit. It might sound like this person is just telling you all of these different things and you're just going, oh, so what are you telling me this exactly? And then you figure out what's going on. Someone who is an external processor will also want validation. So to some people, this can seem like needy, like they're always needing you to tell you something. They're always needing you to tell you they're doing an amazing job. They're not actually needy. And this is where a lot of relationships kind of can go bad, because someone who doesn't understand an external processor, that person can seem needy to the other person. They need you to tell them, I love you. They need you to tell them, oh man, that dress looks fabulous on you. So someone who is an external processor needs that feedback from the world. They need the world to tell them they're doing a good job, because they just don't see it themselves. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have any baggage. It doesn't mean that, I mean, they could, but most of the time it doesn't actually mean that there's anything going wrong with them, that they need to fix something or do some sort of work or anything like that. It's just simply how they process things. That would be like saying, like, if you know about Myers-Briggs, like if you know about the Myers-Briggs assessment, the MBTI, which is you are sometimes more of an extrovert or sometimes you're more of an introvert. That would be like an introvert saying, what is wrong with all of the extroverts? Why do they need so much attention? They don't. That's just how they recharge their batteries. Same thing with people who are external processors. They need the outside world to tell them what they're doing. They need that for like validation, but not validation in a way to where they only feel valued with that. They know they're valuable. They have a knowing of, yes, I'm a good person. It's just they need that validation and they need that reassurance from the outside world to tell them they're doing a good job. So if you're a boss of a person who is more of an external processor, you need to tell them, this is amazing. You did an excellent job here. If they didn't, then you also need to tell them, oh, okay, I appreciate where you're going with this, and here's the reason why we need to maybe go a different direction. If you are more of an internal processor, then if you would do a good job, it's easier for you to see. So it's not like you don't ever want someone to tell you, hey, you did a good job. You just don't need that external validation as much. So if you do something and you know, boom, you hit X, Y, and Z, all of the different things, you know, you get 1 million likes on your video, you're gonna be going, oh, I did a good job. You can see it yourself. External processor, I got 1 million likes, is that okay? Like, is that good? Like, they still need more validation. Internal processor, oh, I got that. Like, this is amazing, perfect, I'm doing good. Internal processor will sometimes be in their mind as well. So it might seem like, oh, external processor, like you need external validation, like what's wrong with you? You're so needy. No, that's just the way they go. Internal processor, they might be like, I don't need you. I got this. So they might seem like calm, cool, and collected, like they've got everything together. They don't need anybody to validate them or to tell them they're doing a good job. Here's the thing though. Sometimes because they are so in their head, they might not either communicate externally, so they might not do the whole speaking out loud word vomit thing, but they need to. They might need to be able to communicate with other people. Internal processor, they might think, yeah, I got this, I'm doing a good job. And so sometimes they forget to like ask, wait a minute, is this actually what you wanted? So here's what this looks like. If you're listening to someone speaking, so I'll give you an example of me. So for me, I'm more of an inferential speaker. And then when I'm listening, I kind of go between literal and inferential. What happens sometimes is when I go inferential is I tend to be more of an internal processor as well. So because I'm an internal processor, even though I might hear someone say, Okay. So one time I'm at a training and there's someone else on stage. Two of us trainers are sitting in the back, and one of the other trainers is sitting next to me, and he goes, "I really like coffee." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." In my head, because I was about to go on stage, in my head, I'm going, he wants me to get him coffee. How am I going to get him coffee? The coffee, there was a coffee shop in the hotel. I'm like, the coffee shop is closed. I could run up to my room and get him coffee. But I'm about to go on stage, and I'm kind of I'm like prepping. I'm in my head, I'm prepping to go on stage. I'm just thinking about the different things, like I'm going over my segment in my head, basically. And so I'm just like, I just kind of looked over and I'm like, yeah, me too. Because I'm processing all of these different things. And he looks at me, and I'm like, you want coffee? I don't have time to get you coffee right now. So he's like, you're such a literal listener. And I'm like, no, I heard that you want coffee. However, I'm an internal processor. So I'm also processing all of this information in my head about getting you coffee versus just getting up and going to get him coffee. If I was an external processor, then I would have said something like, oh, do you want me to go get you coffee? Or something like, oh, okay, the coffee shop is closed. I can go run to my room really quick. Now, if I was a hyper inferential listener, I might have just gotten up and went and got him coffee. So all of these things come into play in your communication. So all of these things in that moment, I heard him inferentially. I answered him literally because I'm like, I don't have time to go get you coffee, so I'm just gonna say, yeah, me too. And I processed everything internally. So you guys can see how there's a lot to communication, which is why this video is so important to maybe rewatch to really understand what a person is trying to say to you and how communication and relationships can go south so quickly, so quickly. I'll give you another example. So the same trainer that I'm talking to you about, so he's an inferential speaker. Obviously, he just spoke inferentially to me. He wanted me to go get him coffee because he had just gotten off stage. So there was three of us at the training. He had just gotten off, another person was on, and I was just about to go on. So he was tired. He just wanted to get him some coffee really quick. And so in that moment, we were having this communication thing. Now, this is a funny story that he's told everybody. So he's an inferential speaker. His wife is a literal listener. So his wife is a very literal listener. His wife also really likes to know why things. So they're at a grocery store. In this particular grocery store, you have to put euros if they're in a foreign country. You have to put euros in the to get a cart out. So you have to put a euro in and you get your grocery cart out. So, and I don't know if it was actual, I don't know what the amount was, but anyway, so like a quarter, something like that. So he has to put something into the machine to get the basket out. And he's like, hey, do you have that euro? Whatever it was. And she's like, yes. Can you give it to me? Because what just happened? He asked, do you have it? Meaning I want it, because he's speaking inferentially. She answered yes, because she heard literally, yes, I have it. And he's going, oh, she's literal. Can I have it? So then he actually asks for it, right, to translate. And she goes, why? And in that moment, he's like, just give me the coin. So she gives him the coin, puts it in the machine, pulls the basket out. And she goes, oh, you wanted it for the basket. He's like, yes. Now, because they know what just happened, they were able to see inferential, literal, and then she wanted more information because she wanted that external processing, right? She wanted him to externalize why he wanted the coin. Had they not known this about communication, it could have then turned into a very fun shopping experience where the two of them are going, he's like, she just doesn't listen to me. I just wanted the coin. She just couldn't give it to me. She has to ask all these questions. Why does she have to know everything? I just wanted the freaking coin. And she could be going, why doesn't he just tell me he wants the coin? Why can't he just tell me why he wanted it? If he would have just said to me, hey, babe, could you hand me the coin so I can put it in the machine and get his basket out? Or, hey, this takes coins. Can I have that coin so you can put it in? Or, can you put a coin in this machine so we can get a basket out? That's how communication can break down, because they're both speaking and listening in different ways, in different styles. All right, you guys, I hope this really helps. Please, I know that's a lot of information. Please feel free to watch the video again. Give it to your employees. Give it to your employer. That might be even better. Give it to your partner, whoever you are with. And as always, choose love in everything that you do. Mahalo. Thirsty time, thirsty time. Gotta get that water. Okay, did I just say I'm thirsty? I don't know. I think I got, see, I'm normally an inferential speaker, so I think that I just said I got thirsty, but I think I might have said that I want to drink, but now I've confused myself, so let's start over. Hi, Evie. Hey, I'm going to the gym. I would like it if you came to the gym with me. Are you up to going to the I can't talk right now. Before I get into that though, I would like to interrupt this video for one moment and say, I've got great news, guys. Okay, hold on. To find it in and why am I now blanking on the name for basic Myers-Briggs? I'm going external, inferential, because of all the words that I'm using. Extroverted, thank you. Oh, extroverted and introverted. That's why the brain. Okay, so you're listening. I'll just do me. Okay, not like that. Oh God.